Hey, happy Friday. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fun Never Ends with Nelson and Friends. It's a great weekend. It's going to be a great one. I've got a trip to Hawaii on Wednesday. Also, it's WrestleMania weekend. What more can you ask for? But I got a great guest for you today. You know him from Last in Line and, of course, Raiding the Rock Vault, where you can catch Andrew Freeman Saturday through Wednesday when he's not on the road with Last in Line, which they got a couple dates coming up. He's also been with 30 Stones, The Offspring, Lynch Mob, Hurricane, and he's also been with Pyromania. Please welcome Andrew Freeman. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? That was a deep one there. Pyromania. That's funny.
I'm doing great, man. Thank you again. I want to thank you so much for doing this, man.
Yeah, dude. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. Let's get right to it. I know you're very busy. When did you get your first start in music? How old were you?
You mean with major bands or just playing in general?
Just in general. Just playing in general.
I just started playing. I had an old brother who was in bands, and I started playing with his bands, and just some different people around town. I was kind of pretty fortunate to grow up in an area where there was a lot of good musicians. So it was just kind of any way you would come up, getting a guitar and just trying to find like-minded people to play music with.
Yeah, I hear you. Was your first take more towards singing, or was it towards playing guitar or bass?
No, I was a guitar player. I was all about playing guitar and finding a singer and just being the guitar hero.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed that I was always the guy who could sing. And could, and I'd always be covering the singer. When they couldn't get certain things. And then it just got to the point where I didn't really feel like carrying my guitar gear anymore. So, and I was just a better singer than I was a guitar player. So I just kind of started focusing on that.
Yeah. You definitely kick ass on vocals, man.
Oh, thank you very much.
One of your first bands was 30 Stones. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, it was a band from Massachusetts that I played with for about 5 years, and maybe a little on and off after there was a core like 4 or 5 years where we were pretty busy, and then we just did little sporadic gigs since after that 5-year period, and then we signed a deal with an indie label and did a bunch of work on a record that never was released, and we put our own CD out called Canvas that we did on our own, and we charted on some of the radio charts and some of the radio charts at the time, and which is kind of hard for a band that doesn't have a label behind them. So we made a little bit of noise, and I was the guitar player in that band, but I did some singing as well, but I wasn't the lead singer in the band. So we did that for a while. It was fun. We played lots and lots and lots of shows, and that's the band that it was kind of a band of brothers sort of thing, where we were just in it because we loved it.
Yeah.
Didn't care about money. We just cared about playing. So
that's what it's all about, really.
Yeah. Now it's a total opposite.
Yeah. Now you got to make. It's a career. It's a big career for you, and that's the living the dream, and you're living the dream.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do. So for sure. Yeah.
And your first major gig was it The Offspring?
No, it was Lynch Mob.
How long were you in Lynch Mob for? And
I guess on and off for about 3 years. We it started about 2014. I did a tour with George, and the thing with him is it's never really a band. It's always it seems like it's whoever's available. It was like that for a while, and I know he's had some later incarnations of it that were more stable band, with Coogan and Jimmy DeAnda and when Oni was in the band, which I'm sure he'll be back again because he's in and out from time to time. But it was. That's where I met Vinny Appice, and yeah, so I guess that was the first one. I was with them until about, I guess, 2007, from 2004 2007 on and off.
That's awesome. I was watching a clip of when you guys were at Vamped and you guessed in for Tooth and Nail.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded really good, that's for sure.
Thanks, man.
It'd definitely be cool to see that edition, so...
Yeah, well, Oni's my bud, man. I love Oni, and all the guys in that band are, that version of the band. Sean McNabb and Jimmy Deanda. They're all great guys, and they're all friends, and so it's when you're on stage with friends, people you played before, and even George and I get along, well enough. We get along great now, so it's not. It wasn't hard. We just got up there. We had a good time. Everybody loved it, and. It was nice of Oni to invite me up to do that, so it was really cool.
Did you get a chance to record an album with George during that version of Lynch Mob that you did?
We didn't. It wasn't a Lynch Mob record. We did a record that was called Souls of We.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, it was. But it was originally supposed to be a record that he was writing, and he was going to use a bunch of different singers. Mm-hmm. He was talking about using Gino Deftones and the dude from Nickelback and a bunch of different people, and it didn't pan out that way. So we started. I was working at The Offspring at the time, and we were working with Bob Rock, and the whole thing kind of came about because Bob Rock found out that I sang with George, and he was like, "Oh, I'd really love to hear some of the stuff you guys are working on." And big producer like that asks, it's like, "Oh man, I got to try to make that happen." So I called George and I said, "Hey, listen, why don't I write some of these songs and finish up these songs for you, and we'll record them, and I'll give them to Bob." And he agreed, and we tried to do that, but it ended up turning into a different project that he did with a different singer. That's a different guy who fronted the band. So, but I wrote 6 songs on the record and sang some of the stuff on there as well. So
it would be cool to hear those. I definitely got to try to find a copy of that.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Now, moving on to The Offspring, how did you get that gig?
I was working with them as a guitar tech. Mm-hmm. And I have a friend who I grew up with who was their production manager for probably about 6 or 7 years, maybe before that, or maybe longer, probably over 10 years before I had to audition for him. And he just had called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're looking for a guitar player, singer to do this, the utility guy position in the band."
Yeah.
And of course, I was interested, so I went and I auditioned for it, and surprisingly got it. And and then went on a tour with them. And again, I kind of knew most of the guys in the band, and already. We weren't great friends, but it was a little, I guess I got it because they were a little more familiar with me. Yeah. As a person, So so it was a great gig. We played all over the world. Went to South America with them, Japan, and Russia. We went everywhere. So it was quite an experience for sure. So
you were with those guys for how many years?
I mean, I was working with them, again, it's just like it's on and off. I was working with them in 2007, and then I left in 2009, so,
Yeah, I got to see that clip that Rock Valdez shared, and I was like, damn, that's freaking cool.
Which clip was it?
It was the clip of The Offspring. I forget, it was a live clip, but I forget which song it was, but it was like posted about a month ago.
Oh yeah, they were a fun band. It was a fun band to play with. They definitely. It was a great opportunity, and I still get to use it as a like when I'm doing Rock Vault now. It's like from the bands this and this. So it's opened a lot of doors for me in my career, which is is great. So.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
You had a great career, that's for sure, man. I looked back at it and I was like, this guy's badass, man.
Thanks, man.
Definitely paid his dues. And you went on to sing for Hurricane. How was that experience?
Our Hurricane, that was really kind of short-lived. We did it for 2 years and just, it was fun, but we didn't do much, we didn't really do any traveling. We played mostly in California and that was about it. I wish I could say more about it, but it was a lot of waiting around for things to happen and, and a lot of the things didn't happen. So gotcha. It was kind of frustrating, but, guys in the band are cool. They I just don't think the demand was there for the band. So
gotcha.
One of those bands that without the original singer, I don't think really people aren't really that interested in the band. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I totally hear you.
Yeah, so that's a tough one, but good experience. No regrets. So,
gotcha.
Wish it would have done more.
And of course, you got to be part of the, the first debut of Rain the Rockfall at the Mayan, which now is all the way down to LVH to Tropicana, and now you guys are at vinyl. How was it I know it's a great experience to be there because I love the show as much as
right.
How were you approached for the very beginning?
I did a session for a drummer named Simon Phillips. He's a pretty famous drummer. He was in Toto. He played with The Who, Roger Daltrey, and Pete Townsend, and all these different bands he was with. And I did a session with him, and he called me. We originally were talking about when he was in Toto, they were looking for somebody to sing for Toto, and that's how we kept in touch from this session. And then, but that didn't pan out. And then a year later, I got called to do another session with him, where I was just going in and sing, like 35 or 40 classic rock songs, classic rock cover songs that they were recording. Didn't really know what the project was, but it turned out to be Rockfall, and I was just basically singing throwaway vocals. So they wanted me to just guide the band through, and they were going to bring other singers in, and which they did. And but the third day or so of the session, they offered me a show, which didn't exist yet. So it took about 6 or 7 months or so to, and then the show started, and we did the Mayan gig, and then we ended up out in Vegas. So it was quite another great experience, man. Kind of a life changer because I ended up moving to Vegas, and
yeah.
It's just one of those things that we expected it to be a 3-month gig, and it turned out to be it's 5 years later and I'm still here. So
definitely a great show. Always great to see you guys kick ass on stage. So definitely one of the reasons why I keep coming back, as well as all the rock falters.
Thanks, man. Yeah, there's a good vibe there. I think people pick up on it. It's definitely different.
Yeah, definitely. And of course you have Last in Line, which I was actually looking back at, you guys playing the first ever show over at the Slide Bar back in 2013 in August, and now you guys are kicking ass, and you guys have an album called Heavy Crown, and with the new album coming out sometime next year, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's supposed to be early 2019. We're about 8 songs finished now. We have a few more to do, and all the music, all the basic tracks are recorded. Vocals are pretty much done on 8 of the songs. So we're just plugging away at it. Just trying to coordinate is the hardest part. Coordinate scheduling. So
right on.
So it's getting, because everybody's got something else going on. You kind of these days you kind of have to have a couple different things going on in order to make a living. And that's pretty much what's been happening. So
totally hear you.
Yeah.
How's it been being able to tour with those guys along with the late great Jimmy Bain?
I guess it's just like anything else. Everybody gets along really well, and the whole playing with these guys that these legendary musicians. It's you kind of have to. That's got to go away quickly. It's one thing that you can reflect on it for a minute, but there comes a time when you have to get to work, and produce,
Yeah.
So and do the gig and do it, as good as they do theirs, So, or at least try to match the talent and the intensity level of their playing, and actually bring something to the table that's of equal value,
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, everybody gets along great, and we tour when we can. It's a pretty easy band to do. There's no drama. It's pretty straightforward and easy to do. So
definitely kick-ass record. It's really cool to have your son Jacob on there, and happy birthday to him.
Yeah, that's why I'm late today, because of his birthday. So yeah, thanks, man.
I've been stuck listening to the title track. I mean, every song on this album just totally kills it. I've been stuck on Heavy Crown myself.
Oh, the song Heavy Crown?
I listened to this, the first time I told you, I listened to this album religiously on a regular basis, and I still do.
Right.
Heavy Crown's
been my
calling.
Well, I hope you like the next one. The first one, I think we set the bar pretty high, and hopefully we'll make it a little better, or just at least take it to the next level.
It's going to sound kick-ass, that's for sure.
Yeah, I hope you dig it. I really do.
And you got Jeff Pilson producing it. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, Jeff's great. Jeff's good at what he does. And we seem to work really well together. So it's all win. Yeah,
and you guys got quite a upcoming tour up until May. You guys are in Scottsdale, Arizona next Thursday. A week from tonight, you guys are over at Vamped, and then you guys head out to 2 shows in Texas, a show in Iowa, St. Charles, Illinois, New Hampshire, Jersey, and then at M3 Rock Festival.
Yeah, we're pretty much after M3. We're pretty much done for the rest of the year as far as shows go. So, and then, because we have to concentrate on getting that album done and out.
Yeah.
And then, we there's only a few more for the Heavy Crown album cycle. So we're trying to hit as many markets as we can, but it's tough. We can't hit all of them, unfortunately.
Yeah. It'll definitely hit with this second album. I know that it hit really well with this album.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So, talking about that, you guys had a lot of good merchandise, of course, and those drum heads, killer.
Yeah.
Definitely something everybody loves those.
Something different, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for? I remember 2016 when it was about maybe a few months after Rock Vault. You guys did a thing called Hand Valen, which was Van Halen tribute that you guys did, featuring yourself, Corky Gainsford, Chris Cicchino, and Mark Bowles, and along with Michael T. Ross on Jump. How did that come about? Just wanted to have a fun time, or?
Yeah, me and Chris Cicchino, he plays in he was in Rock of Ages for a really long time here in Vegas, and he did the touring version of it as well. And we're both New York guys, and we're fans of Van Halen, and there was a show that somebody did in town, and it had all different actors, from some of the shows in town, and I happened to do the show, and they did 2 Van Halen albums against each other. They had like Van Halen 1 versus 1984, and everybody was broken into teams, and then we do one from each record, and blah blah blah. It was like this battle thing, and a battle thing that only actors could come up with, and enough drama that only actors could come up with it. So we were watching, and just something just didn't resonate with either of us, because we're both, rock and roll guys. Are just like, we should do this for real, because we know all the history, we know the music inside and out, and there was a lot of different versions of. It just wasn't resonating very well with us. So we put this thing together. We got Mark Bowles, who I needed a singing bass player for it, and Mark is a very accomplished vocalist, but he plays bass as well. And I just was kind of like, hey man, you want to do this? This would be kind of fun. He was all about it. He's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. So you have a guy like Mark Bowles, as your backup vocalist and bass player. Yeah. It's it was unreal. So and then Corky, I don't know if you know Corky, but he played in a band called Otherwise, and he has a new band out called Code Red Riot. They're actually opening for us Friday at Vamped.
Oh,
and
right.
He's just a phenomenal drummer, and he's kind of the guy that really brought it all together as far as musically, because he knows that stuff inside and out. So we did it a handful of times. I think 3 or 4 times I'd say, and it was fun. We haven't done one in a while, but we talk about it every now and then. But it's just
everybody's busy.
Yeah, no, not so much that. It's just you do it, and it's like, do I want to? It's not my career. It's not a living doing this band, but people liked it, but we just don't want to burn it. We don't want to burn out on it. I think. Personally, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to burn out on it personally. So
gotcha.
But it was a lot of fun.
I remember that gig, and with Paul Shortino joining you on stage. That was fun.
Just holding a martini the whole time.
Yep, during Beautiful Girls.
Yeah, Paul's a good friend, man. He's hilarious, and he's like a brother, So he's like, I want to come up, and I said, you should come up and sing with me. He's like, all right. So you can't keep him off stage once he gets up there. So he never left. So I was all about it. It was a lot of fun. So I just kept ordering him drinks, and he just hung out and sang backups, standing there. It was a lot of fun. So really fun gig.
That was a fun night.
Yeah.
Moving on to you guys did the Def Leppard cruise. Last in Line did the Def Leppard cruise, and Joe Elliott got laryngitis, and you were able to fill in for 2 songs, that being Let It Go and Bring On the Heartbreak. How was that?
I mean, it's just like it sounds. It was amazing. It was a weird day, but that part of it was just unbelievable to be able to walk out on stage with a band, with of that, stature and that much history and front it for, a few songs was really unbelievable. So, and to do it with Joe just standing a couple feet away, it was
wow. I didn't realize he was a couple feet away.
Yeah, well, he introduced the band. I mean, he could still talk.
Yeah.
He just couldn't sing, so.
True.
So so I took it over, and they, it was a really cool thing for them to do, and it was an unbelievable experience. So and you walk out there and you just look up, and the Def Leppard name is behind you. And as you know, I played in a tribute band for a while.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not the same, because this is the real deal,
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. Well, really, really amazing experience. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at clips of that, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
That's a great that's how I felt when I walked out there. I was like, "Holy shit!" So.
You did a lot of side gigs too, as well as you were part of Black Mongoose with Aldridge, Tishy, and Cosmo.
Francesco de Cosmo. Yeah. I'm not. I didn't really. I wasn't a part of that. I got up and sang 2 songs with them one night when they were doing their thing. So that's Tishy and Doug's thing. Brian Tishy will put a band together.
Yeah.
And give it a name and go and do a couple gigs here and there. And so yeah, I wasn't really a part of it. I just got up and sang a couple songs. So that one night. So, yeah.
And what about Snow? I know you did a couple things with them as well.
Yeah, I did 2 shows with them. I used to play with both the Cavazzo brothers. I played with Tony in Hurricane, and I played with Carlos in a Hollywood All Stars. I did a couple of those dates. That was that was Carlos and Vinny Appice and Jimmy Bain.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was mostly like just playing a lot of their back catalog stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I knew both the Cavazzo brothers, and I was playing with Tony, and I said, hey, what are you guys doing with Snow? And he was like, I'm not really doing anything. So he called the guys and said I was interested in doing it. And I think we did 2 shows. We did a show in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
at the now defunct Key Club.
Yeah.
And we did one out in the Inland Empire somewhere, out by Temecula somewhere. And, you know, it was fun. I thought we were going to do more, but we did just that, and then that was it. So, but you know, they were a legendary band from the late 70s, early 80s from L.A., and they just, I think it needed a little kick in the pants to go out and do a couple gigs, so it was
Right.
a lot of fun, you know, a lot of fun. And the place was mobbed. I couldn't believe how many people came out for it, so.
Yeah, definitely have to check out that band when they do another gig, so.
Yeah, they just did a record, I guess. They released all their old demos, with the original, you know, the original singer and stuff. But I don't know if they're playing at all. I know they just did the record. So. Yeah,
I know they did one gig sometime. I think it was like last year or earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
Can't recall. Yeah. But I got a few people that wanted to say hi. My friend Tori wants to say hello, and our good buddy Ernie. So,
Ernie and Tori, I know. Yeah, Tori's a big Last in Line fan and a Leppard fan.
Oh yeah.
And Ernie's just everywhere. I love Ernie. He's a good dude, a really good guy. So.
Oh yeah, definitely fun. Let's see, and you did the Ronnie Montrose Remembered. You did 2 songs for this past year at NAMM, and that was you doing double duty because you had your band Last in Line over at M3.
Yeah. Keith St. John put that together. He's another friend of mine from used to sing it with Montrose, and he put that all together, and he just kind of it was really cool because he actually said, you know, I said I got to have my gig, and he set it up so I could go earlier to go do it, and it was fun. You know, it was just you can do anything with Uber, so
that's true.
You know, as long as you got an Uber guy, you can do 2 gigs, and you know. It was the 2 venues weren't too far away from each other, so it was pretty easy to do. So,
what
a lot of fun.
That was it over in? You had a Santa Ana gig, and then you had an Anaheim gig. Yeah, that's not far.
Yeah, Santa Ana. Yeah, they border each other, the 2 towns. So, so it was all right. Yeah, it was pretty easy. So.
You were also.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet. I wish I could have been there for both of them anyway.
Me too, brother.
You were featured on Bob Kulick's recent release of his new record, Skeletons in the Closet, and you're featured in the song Player. How were you approached by Bob to do that tune? You know,
I don't really remember, but Bob and I had been friends for, I don't know, probably about 10 years on and off. You know, but not like, you know, we didn't have each other's phone numbers or anything like that, but he was always really nice to me. Like, always super cool guy. You know, we were talking before the show about some of these guys and who've been doing this for so long that are just not cool, you know. And but Bob's not one of those people. Bob's one of the nicest, you know, guys in the business, I think. And I don't know how it came about, but I'm sure it was just a text or a phone call. Oh, we ran into each other at a. This is going to sound super douchey, but we ran into each other at a. We both were part of the Grammy Association.
Oh, okay.
And they had a mixer meeting thing in Vegas one night at the Palms. They have a studio at the Palms, and we were at this thing, and we just kind of reconnected there. And I think he mentioned it there, and I just went forward from there. And we recorded at a really great studio that's not there anymore. It's called. I think it's Vegas View or Valley View Studios and Vegas View Studios in Henderson, and it was just a great experience. Bobby Ferrari was the engineer and the producer of it, and he just killed it. It was a good group of people, and it was pretty easy because everything was written already. I just went in and kind of threw it down, So, but
yeah, you definitely killed it on that song. I love it, and you got your buddy Robin McCauley on there, along with a lot of great singers on that album as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of great players on there. Dee Snider's on there, and Rudy Sarzo played on it, and Scott Coogan, and Todd Kearns. It was a really good group of people on it. So.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
And speaking of cruises, you just did the Monsters of Rock cruise with Lies, Deceit, and Treachery, which features all three original Bullet Boys.
Right.
How was that? I know you were very exhausted. I'm sure you had a great time, and you were probably very exhausted too.
Yeah, the cruise was great, man. It was a great experience, and everybody really, gravitated towards the band. We had a great response, and it was nice to hear those guys play again, and to play in front of an audience like that. It's a built-in audience on that, so it's really helpful. And I don't think a lot of people knew what the band was. It was the three guys, the original Bullet Boys players, and they are that band. They are the sound of that band. I know that their original singer, he still has the brand, and he goes out and does his version of the Bullet Boys. But it's I've never seen them, and I have friends that play in that band, and I don't wish them any ill. But these guys are they're the core of the band. They're the band. It's not. So it was just really easy, and it reminded me a lot of the Last in Line band because because Mick and Vivian play the same exact guitar. So you kind of, when you're, you look down at a certain point, you're like, wait, who am I playing with? So, and they're both bands are just so tight, and they're just made for each other. They're just amazing chemistry, and it's hard to replicate that. And I think that's like, with Last in Line too, with the Dio the band, not Dio the solo artist. And that's the big misconception with that band. It's like, it was Dio the band before it was. I mean, it was always. It became something else, But the core, the three. I mean, not even so much the third, but the first two core big hit, Dio records were, Jimmy, Vinny, and Vivian, and when they play those songs, that's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like. No matter how you want to slice it up or whoever you want to place whoever with. They are the guys, and same thing with Jimmy DeAnda and Lonnie Vincent and Mick Sueda. They are the guys that made those iconic first two records. It's very similar, and so it was a great experience. We tried to do it 10 years ago, and it didn't pan out, and then their singer got sick, I believe, or he had to get an operation, and they asked me to fill in because they had this cruise booked, and it was a big deal for them to launch the new band in a venue like this. These opportunities don't come along, especially Monsters of Rock. It's once a year. So, and honestly, it had nothing to do with who was fronting the band. Anybody could have fronted the band because as long as they can do the songs, but it was really about those guys getting out there and playing those songs again, and people hearing them play those songs the way they're supposed to be played and the way they're supposed to sound. So all I really was in that was a facilitator. I just want to do the songs justice. So these guys who are my friends, I wanted to, especially Jimmy DeAnda. We've been friends for forever, and
he's a badass drummer too.
He is, and he's a great guy, and it meant a lot to him, and I really wanted to help them get it off the ground, So in a sense, because now, offers are coming in for the band now. So now the band's going to work for real, and because of that cruise, so it worked like a charm. But unfortunately the singer, their singer left. So, for whatever reason, and, which none of my business, but, so he left and so I may do some more gigs with them. We're trying to work that out now. So we'll see.
Right on, man.
But again, it was just basically for me. It was just to facilitate them
Gotcha.
getting out again, and it was important to them, and it was important to me for them. So.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
My friend Tori has a question for you that she wants to know what was your first concert.
My first concert was Styx in 1978, I believe.
Ooh, man.
Yeah. It was Styx, and it was at the Rockland County Community College in Rockland County, New York. I can't remember the name of the town. I think it was by Sutton. No, I can't remember the name of the town. It was in Rockland County, New York, though. It's a little close to New York City. So.
You remember which tour that was?
I believe it was Pieces of Eight.
That's awesome.
I could be wrong because I was very young at the time. So.
What was the best concert you ever been to?
Oh man, it's really hard to narrow that down.
There's to like top two. Make it easy.
I've been to so many concerts, dude. I think one of my favorites was David Bowie and 9 Inch Nails together.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was at Nassau Coliseum in New York. That was a great show. I saw Alice in Chains in a small club on the Facelift tour. That was a really great one. On their first tour. Just raw energy. I got to sit on the sound check, and they were writing the record Dirt, so they were working on a couple songs at sound check, which is I'll never forget. I got to meet the guys and hang out with them for the day, and it was a pretty amazing experience. That was a big one, man. So many, dude, so many.
I hear you, man. I'm on that same.
Probably probably the Styx one too, because that was my first ever concert, and it was being such a young kid, it was just overwhelming and just like, wow, this is amazing, So
that's awesome. What do you like to do on your downtime when you're not working?
What the hell is that? I'm a pretty boring guy, dude. I spend time with my family. That's about it. I try to make myself available to my son who's 9. And I've been very fortunate over the past 5 years at Rock Vault to be in one place for most of the time, and be able to work and have my days free to spend with him and facilitate the things he needs as and be as good of a parent as I can be. And honestly, that's the most important thing to me is taking care of my family and
family's always
being available
first.
to them. You can take all this rock and roll shit and throw it out the window as far as I'm concerned, because it's definitely awarded me a better life and a less stressful life. But any job, and it's not that it's a job, but anything, my family comes before everything. So I don't, and that's what's important to me. So I love playing music, but as I was a half an hour late for this interview because I was doing family stuff. So
no worries, man.
Yeah.
Hey, you had to do what you got to do. Family always comes first. It's more.
Yeah, but you are a very nice guy, and I appreciate your understanding of that. So.
Oh yeah, definitely anytime. So, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Before I let you go, I want to thank you so much, and I would like to ask you one last question.
Sure.
Do you have any interesting road tales that you would be willing to share?
Oh, interesting road tales. I mean, I think the most interesting one was the one we already talked about, was the singing for Def Leppard, but the earlier part of that day, it's when Jimmy Bain passed away.
Oh.
So it was on the same day.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's that was probably the most bizarre road story I could ever tell. Even though we were at sea. But that was probably the weirdest one, is being losing our bass player and then singing for one of the biggest bands of the world the same day. That was I don't think I could top that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Nothing else really comes to mind, but I might call you back in 20 minutes and go, hey, what about this?
Sounds good. All right, man. I want to thank you so much for being on my show. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you at Raiding the Rock Vault sometime this year, man.
Well, thanks, Nelson. I appreciate you having me on, and good luck with this. Good luck with the show.
All right, thank you so much, man. All right, you have a great day. I want to thank everybody else for tuning in. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Peace out, thumbs up, and rock on. Thanks. Good night.
Good night.